following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time
It's theater time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
for the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's gonna be cool.
You're where it's at.
You smell like me.
Tune in each and every week.
You better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The Interactive Interview,
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview.
Interactive interview. The interactive interview.
Interactive Wrestling Radio,
Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio.
Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive wrestling radio.
The Blaze,
Blaze 1260 AM.
The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze. The Blaze Rock.
and a lot of other names.
Weekend Weird of Wrestling. The Pile Driver.
The Epa Wrestling Center.
3 Count Wrestling. The Hours Lab.
But it's all one show, the Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter, dude.
The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
I could care less.
It all starts
What a rush. Oh, Boomer Sooner.
Thank you very much.
I got 2 words for you. Thumbs down. Breaking necks and cashing checks. I've heard a lot about you guys.
Check it out. Get out of my face. You win!
But I'm desperately out of time!
So what you gonna do when Blaze-a-mania runs wild on you?
now.
Indie superstar JD Michaels. JD, how you doing today?
I'm not doing too bad. How about yourself?
Great. We're doing great.
A Canadian named Michaels. Is that an oxymoron?
You'd think, hey?
Yeah.
A lot of people do a double take.
Well, standard opening question you've probably been asked a billion times. Were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Pardon me?
Were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My parents actually kept a baby log, and apparently around the age of 2 years old, I sat down in front of wrestling, so it's quite a few years under the belt, watching what's going on.
Who are your favorite wrestlers growing up?
I think if you were in and around my age at all in the 80s, obviously pretty much it was Hulk Hogan who got you at least into watching wrestling because he was mainly the guy, and you were fed his stuff and you ate it very much. And but as the 80s panned out, I kind of I loved wrestling, but I was always looking for smaller guys, and I started watching the tag teams. I started watching the Hart Foundation and the Rockers, and I thought the British Bulldogs were really entertaining too. And then early 90s roll in and Hogan fades out, and then you got guys like Kurt Hennig and Bret Hart and Owen and Shawn that started getting the spotlight. So that's when I really, really got into wrestling, and really at a young age thought to myself, hey, I wonder if I could do this now because these guys aren't giants.
Yeah, right.
And overall, the matches were much more entertaining, and they all had better psychology, and so just, they captivated you a lot better, I thought.
Who did you look? Well, you're a good man at that. What prompted you to become a pro wrestler?
Pardon me?
Why wrestling, basically? Why would somebody, a young athlete like yourself, decide to get into wrestling instead of maybe, without being a stereotypical prick, hockey or something like that,
Because I had already had 10 years of hockey under my belt. Yes, the stereotypical hockey from Canada. I started playing hockey when I was about 4. Gave that up when I was 13 or 14. I played soccer between the age of 5 and 10, don't remember which years. Was in karate for a while. I got about 65% of the way to my black belt, and was actually on a record pace to achieve a black belt by the time I was 18 and be one of the only few people in Edmonton to do it. So when I quit, the school was really not happy and actually kept sending letters saying, no, you don't realize what you could do, but I just had lost interest in it. And in high school, at around 135 pounds, I actually played a middle linebacker and scored the most sacks in the league, to everybody's surprise, as small as I was. So basically by the time high school was done, I had tried everything that I had interest in trying, and could not see myself going to college or university the way my mind was focused on wrestling, you know.
Right.
Up until the end of high school, school's free, you don't got to pay, and for college and university it's so expensive, I just couldn't see myself putting out that money, and it'd be like a gamble, you know, am I going to pay attention enough to pass my classes, because this time it comes with my own pocket, so a little bit of a different story. So I figured I'd try and get into it and see if it fades out of my system or not, see where it may take me, and, you know, 10 years, if it doesn't work out, maybe I'll reevaluate what I want to do in my life.
Who trained you?
Originally when I broke in, I got a weird story. Near the end in grade 12, Maxim had done a story on pro wrestling, and in their magazine they had a link to their website, and it had this like 10 or 15 minute video of the WCW power plant. It was 10 cool things to do or something like that is on that list, and in this video they showed how wrestlers bump and how they clothesline, how they body slam, how they leg drop, elbow drop, lock up, run the ropes, just a whole bunch of ABCs of you know, very basics of wrestling. And I thought that this might give me an advantage when I joined wrestling, so I went and found the only ring in the city, which was a boxing ring that was had a concrete floor with carpet on top of it. And somebody else at the time in my friend high school wanted to be a wrestler, so we went and we threw a bunch of sit-up mats, which is really nothing for protection, and we just practiced these ABCs over and over and over and over again. And about 5-6 months after high school ended, I read the paper that a local promotion started up, and they're going to have a school. So I went on down, and they were teaching me how to bump and stuff, and it was just a weird way of bumping, and I couldn't do it right, and I got all frustrated. I said, you know, I think I can already do this stuff. Can I just show you? Can I show you? And at first they were like, no. And then finally I got frustrated, and I said, look, I signed a waiver. If I get hurt, it's my own fault. So I showed them that, and then I showed them a couple other things. They let me show them just basics, and they're like, geez, what else can you do? So I sat there for just half an hour just showing these indie wrestlers, and they're like, we shouldn't be saying this, but you should probably save your money and just start working, or just come down to camps and work out with guys, which I don't recommend for most people. You know, people think that because I kind of got in like that, but the difference between me and most people is once I actually got on the shows, I, you know, sought out who had been wrestling the longest, who's been wrestling 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, where are the veterans, and I would either get in the ring before the show and work out with them and get them to show me more stuff, you know, some grappling, some shoot wrestling, get them to explain psychology to me. I would ask them to watch my matches, tell me what I did wrong, and I got to go on some road trips with the vets, and I was wrestling, you know, 5 nights a week. Guys have been in the business 20 years, and whether or not they made it to WWE or not, they all had their minds, and, you know, there's definitely lots to learn. So I never wanted to just get in and just be satisfied with being booked on a show. Like, there are so many guys who get in through crappy schools. As soon as they get on a show, they think that's it. They're booked, you know, 150 people, boo them, cheer them, that's end all be all of wrestling. But I always wanted to be the best that I could be, so I sought them out and basically just listened and did what they said. So that's how I broke in, basically on the road, and I was told that's how guys used to do it back in like the 70s.
Well, many of our listeners want to live the dream of being a wrestler. So in your own words, could you describe what it was like getting in the ring for the first time?
I hadn't been to an actual indie show since like grade 11, because Stampede started to make a comeback, so I kind of forgot what it was like, you know. Part of me thought, you know, hey, this is going to be like WWE, and the other part of me was like, geez, I don't know what the hell to expect. So next thing you know, I'm geared up, music hits, no curtain, just basically a big piece of cardboard to close the separation in the wall. Walk around there, and yay, there's 150 25 people, not 15,000. And, I mean, it's definitely a wake-up call within about 10 seconds. And, but, you know, you realize that it's what you're supposed to do, you will know it, and if not, you'll know that too. You can just totally judge by the way you feel when you're out there. I was really excited. The first time that I tried to do something to get a crowd reaction and I got it, and, you know, as a heel, I did something to piss them off, and I got a bunch of boos, like, you know, that was so cool, I couldn't wait to do that again. And, but it's definitely, you know, I've helped out at many, many wrestling schools in my 6 years, and I've seen so many people come and go. I've seen the biggest marks on the planet show up. They're ready, they're going to do this, they're going to be the next Rock, they're going to be the next Austin, and 3 weeks later they can't. You know, this isn't for me, this hurts. So it's one thing to really want to do it, but then there's to really, really, really want it, you know, and I think for a lot of people they're such big fans, and they love watching it, and they just enjoy it so much that they just you know, they want to be a part of it so bad. But I think there really is a fine line between fan and worker for, you know, who really wants it.
Right.
Yeah. And the fans, in the end, will probably get weeded out of wrestling school, or, you know, based on what I've seen, in almost 30 promotions I've worked, some of them just get let on just because the promoter can save a few bucks. But you know, for the most part, they get weeded out, and the people who really want it are the people who come back and they come back and they come back through all the trials and stuff. So.
Well, this is a question that comes from a member of our forum. You had a match, tryout match, I believe, on Velocity, a WWE Velocity show.
Yep.
It was you and Teddy Hart against the Basham Brothers. I don't know if you want to go into the details of this match, but many critics seem to have panned your performance. So what are your thoughts on that match?
The match was what it was. Basically, around that time, they decided to give the Bashams another push, and they were going to have the Bashams were being billed as JBL's cabinet, and JBL was getting his main event push for SmackDown. So, right, you know, they were just looking for anything to get the Bashams over, and I guess for several weeks prior to that, they were giving the Bashams these 2 or 3 minute squashes on Velocity where, you know, the guys they wrestled didn't actually get anything. And there was about 14 of us backstage that day, in indie workers, so I was not expecting to work, and then Johnny Ace just told me and Ted we're teaming up. So, well, basically, you know, it's a TV match. Bashams are growing over strong. We got 5-6 minutes. There's only so much you can do. You know, there's a little bit of a shine at the beginning for us. We get cut off. Johnny says, "Hey, I heard you're a really good sell. But, you know, we want you to take the heat." So I took the heat. You know, hot tag, 30 seconds of a comeback, cut us off. Bam. I was happy to be there. I was happy to have the opportunity. You know, anytime you're there in the afternoon workout, you know, when we're just sitting there, because only so many of us could be in the ring at once, and we kept tagging out kind of thing with these drills. We sort of glanced over and noticed Vince sitting in the 10th row just by himself, just watching us. And I heard he doesn't pay attention to the undercard stuff, so and right after the match, he was standing right behind the curtain when I came back. So part of me was like, oh shit, you know. And, you know, he didn't expect Vince to watch, but he saw something that he didn't like that the Bashams did, so he felt he needed to tear a strip off their ass.
Ooh.
But, no, it was a good experience. I mean, I was sort of flattered that they said, hey, you're a good seller, can you please take the heat? I mean, honestly, you really don't know if they pay attention to you or not when you call them or send them tapes. You really don't know, so maybe it gave me a little bit of confidence that they're kind of paying attention, and would have liked to have done a little bit more, but in 5 minutes, 4 guys, 2 guys are going over strong. It's, you know, it was what it was.
Yeah. All right, now, okay, good, Brian.
Have you had any contact with the WWE since then, or TNA for that matter?
I have not. I emailed Jeff Jarrett a couple of weeks back, and he asked me to send him a promo package. And but first thing I did when I got down here to Connecticut is because where April and I live is about half an hour from Tight Towers. So first thing I did is I went to Tight Towers and had a little meeting with Dreamer. You know, basically, I'm getting the impression that there's just a lot of guys right now, and not even counting the guys under developmental contracts, because they have on the roster under full-time contracts. You know, I was flat out told the writers don't have nothing. Like, the writers got their main event stories, they got some stuff for the mid-card guys, but for everybody else who's being paid, and they have to justify paying these guys by putting them on TV or booking them at house shows, they got nothing. They got no storylines, they got no characters. You know, Rob Conway has changed his gear like 6 times in the last 6 months. You know, and 1 minute he's on Raw, next minute he's on Heat, next minute he's not on any of them, and just those guys still get, you know, way more priority than somebody who's not under contract. So, and they got a whole shitload of guys down in Deep South and OVW, and you know, it's kind of hard. Like when they hire somebody new, you know, maybe somebody knows somebody. That's, you know, that's not just the wrestling world it works in. So, you know, Dreamer, you know, he watched my DVD. He thought I was a really good worker. He liked the fact that I sell, that I work the crowd, and that I, you know, they really emphasize on psychology. I mean, in the Northeast area here, I know it's a lot more spotty. Yeah. At the end of the day, I have to remember who I would like to work for and who can actually would be able to help me pay my bills one day, and it's not going to be the Indies. I have to remember who I'm sending this tape to when I do the matches, despite, you know, what some of the fans might say. I always look at the bigger picture, and it's all while trying to please everybody. So, you know, I was happy that they said my psychology is very strong, and they like the fact that I really put a lot of emphasis on working the crowd, and they thought my work was really solid, and basically it's just a matter of keeping in touch. You know, I've talked to them a couple times since, and I think right now we're just down to the point of right place, right time, or right situation kind of thing.
Well, I'd keep on them, because with them opening up the 3rd brand of ECW, maybe there'll be more spots opening up.
Yeah, I actually had a former ECW guy put a plug into Heyman for me, surprisingly, and I contacted Dreamer a little while back. He's really busy now because in addition to being head of talent for WWE, he's also booking, writing, and hiring for ECW. So,
and wrestling.
And wrestling, that's right. He's doing everything else. So, but no, I'm definitely one of those guys who doesn't drop them a line or something every 6 months or once a year, or expect them to call me. Very much I stay on them. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. Right.
Well, another one of the criticisms a forum member had was that you, J.D. Michaels, look and use some of the moves of the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Now, I don't, you know, this is a forum member asking this question, so I'm not gonna, well, I don't want to be too rude about this, so, how did the decision to emulate HBK come about? Was it a trainer or promoter, or was it you who decided this is how you wanted to look?
Basically, when I, right before my first show ever, in 2001, Shawn was retired, and the promoter said, hey, you know what, we were trying to come up with a name, because I didn't have a name, and he said, geez, you know, facially, you know, everything starts, you kind of resemble Shawn, and you sort of have a little bit of flow like him in the ring. He goes, I'll tell you what, you come up with a first name, whatever you want, but I want you to use the last name Michaels, because Shawn's not around, and maybe because your resemblance, it'll spark some controversy, get some people talking, maybe get some people paying attention, maybe get some people buying tickets to the show, you know, and at my regular warehouse job that I was working at the time, people just called me JD because it's short for my actual real name, and it sort of just stuck, JD Michaels, and basically about 2 years later, Shawn came back, and I was sort of being promoted as the next Shawn Michaels, but then Shawn comes back, so it's kind of hard to promote the next when Shawn's still there. Then I was wondering, what can I do, what can I say, what kind of direction can I give? And but by hanging out at intermissions and after the shows and talking to the fans, the most common question I got asked, or people assumed, was that I was just flat out related to Shawn. So people were just like, hey, is he your cousin? Is he your uncle? Is he, you know, is he your brother? You know, what is he? You got to be related to him. I had people on message boards just, you know, arguing about my bone structure in my face and my mannerisms, the way I walk or the way I bump and sell. They're like, you idiots, you know, he's not copying him. It's genetic. You can't, you know, and yeah, you know, it's bad. You know, after my Velocity match last year, somebody sent me a link, and there was a 12-page argument on a message board. People all, you know, I don't remember what it was, but people all over the world, and that's where that kind of stuff was really there, like about my bone structure and genetics and all that crap. But So basically, I just sort of started getting promoters to say that I was a relative because the fans were assuming that anyways. And then some promoters didn't want to touch that. Other promoters only wanted that. And they wanted me to, you know, they didn't want nothing half-assed. They're like, well, if we got to make people buy this, you know, we can't send you out there wearing whatever. From the day one, since I had hands-on with my gear, I decided, well, if he doesn't want me to do this half-assed, I certainly don't want to insult the promoter since I'm green, and I don't want to insult the television and wrestling fans. And I came up with the gear that I wear. And I used to wear a lot more stuff. I used to be fully decked out when Shawn was, you know, totally retired. Like I wore the mirrored outfits and all kinds of stuff. But after he came back, I toned it down and toned it down and toned it down. Then I went to OVW in late 2004 and toned it down even more after that. And, you know, I put a big JD on the front of my tights, and now it's funny, you know, fans will chant, you're not Shawn, or you're not Shawn. I'm like, no, I'm not. It says JD, you know, you people blinded.
Right.
You know, promoters used to book a super kick finish, even without asking me, and now I tell pretty much every other promoter I do not do the super kick. The only move that I do of Shawn's would be the top rope elbow, but that's my finish. I thought it was a pretty cool finish when Randy Savage used it before Shawn. So.
Right, right. I thought Savage did it better, actually.
That's my 100.
Well, here's just a silly question I came up with. Has the thought ever occurred to just call yourself HD2K?
Yeah, you know what? It's not a silly question. I've been asked stuff like that before. I've had promoters say that they were potentially going to do that. Nobody ever really followed through because, you know, let's face it, when you're running an indie show and you got to, you know, show once a month with no TV, and every show basically you got a bunch of new fans and you got your regulars, it's really hard to convey a storyline or a character. You need TV, you need exposure to get it over. Otherwise, people will just make an assumption based on the gist of it. And, you know, I've always said from day one, I'm like, well, you know, if somebody wants me to really play up a relative of Shawn, it's only going to work if it either has A, money behind it, or B, exposure. Because if people don't hear me cut promos and see me on TV, and there has to be a reason for everything. People there has to be a reason why I dress like him. There has to be a reason why, you know, there's all these similarities. And if they don't have any of those reasons, they're just going to take one look at me, and 2 seconds later they're going to say, oh, he's a ripoff.
Right.
With no explanation, you know, that's what everybody does. They just make assumptions. So, actually, there's a big promotion out of Virginia, Georgia, and Texas called TNT. It's Ward Family Promotions. He has a lot of big shows. Every show draws 1,000 or more. And he books a lot of guys like the Steiner brothers and a bunch of the TNA guys, and Jerry the King Waller and all those guys. And I think he might be going into that area again for the fall. He's got a big fall tour planned up all over the southern United States, and really push the promoting of that and getting exposure on that. So he tossed the name at me, the Canadian showstopper. He said, the people hate you because you look like Shawn, and then, you know, here in America they'll hate you because you're Canadian too.
Right.
That might actually be a good gimmick.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The funny thing was, I was told by Dr. Tom Pritchard a couple of years back before Dreamer replaced him that you have to be somewhat aggressive. And you have to, you know, Vince McMahon, too, made a statement saying, if you want to work for me, you got to come get it. It was just like a generalized statement he made. So I wrote out this fairly detailed story with all the psychology making sense about how they could play into this relative gimmick, you know. Play up like Shawn had a one-night stand one time, 15, 20 years ago, or a little bit more, and sort of like his past is coming to haunt him now that he's a Christian and he's a good boy and doesn't do anything wrong, and, you know, it's kind of like the past to come back and slap him in the face, and I put out this storyline. And the only time I thought about quitting the business was a couple of days later when I always sent my packages to Stanford in a certain way to which who I was sending them to had to sign for the package. That way I know they got it.
Right.
So I knew they had the package and they read this stuff, and within a week I was seeing on a dirt sheet that Lance Cade is being called up from OVW once his hair's grown long, and they are currently in the process of fitting him with Shawn-esque gear and they wanted to call him HB Kate, and they described what his character would do, and it was basically everything that I sent to them. So my jaw hit the desk, and I thought, geez, Christ, you gotta be kidding me. Like, they tell me to be aggressive, and then they just take my story and give it to a guy that got us the contract, and thank God they never followed through with that. But, you know, I still get it all the time. In my space regularly, you know, people email me every day. Are you related? How are you related? Yeah. So I still think that if it's done right and it's promoted right and there's the exposure, that it could, you know, it could actually be an angle that interests people, because there's so many dull stories and have been dull stories for a long time. Like, I think that with some writing adjustments and you know, a brain like Vince's thrown into the mix, that it could almost be turned into something, you know, controversial and a little bit riveting. So it's like, holy shit, you know.
It could be, but it could be. But let me ask you this though: do you think that they give you that story, or do you think that they take somebody in the business that actually is related to Shawn, like Matt Bentley? Or
well, here's the thing: I didn't actually know about Matt Bentley until maybe early last year. Mm-hmm. So that was another thing too. I was toning down wearing the Shawn stuff, and all of a sudden somebody said, "Hey, you know Shawn's already got you're not his cousin, right? He's already got a cousin." Or sorry, somebody started emailing me like, "Hey, did you and Matt Bentley break in together?" or something like that. And I was like, "Who's Matt Bentley?" And they're like, "Your cousin." I'm like, "My cousin?" She's like, "Yeah, you know, you're Shawn's nephew, your cousin," or something like that. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Matt Bentley, yeah." I did a search and I saw him. You know, he's Shawn's cousin, but he's Shawn's like fourth cousin.
Yeah.
So he's, you know, really far out there as far as being an actual cousin. And I heard, you know, I was told by Pritchard back when, you know, this was already 2 years ago, that Bentley tried to get in as Shawn's relative, and they said no. Not that it's really a big deal to me or anything like that, but a lot of people always tell me that I would fit the part better just from the overall resemblance. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't work there, he doesn't work there, so whether or not, you know, they gave a position or an opportunity like that to me, or they tried to mold somebody they already have under developmental, and they may very well do that. You know, why hire a new guy if they got 40 other guys under developmental?
It actually is a little bit ironic that Teddy Hart and you teamed up together then.
That was you know what? The internet is so funny because everybody was talking like Vince did that on purpose. I was reading on sites, I read it on Pro Wrestling Insider. They're like, what is wrong with Vince McMahon? Vince comes to Canada, he's in Hart territory, what does he do? He has to slap Bret Hart in the face by teaming Ted Hart up with somebody named Michaels. So that when we have to write up the review that says, Hart tags Michaels, you know, this is a slap in the face to Bret Hart. People read into it like, you know, there was nothing there. And I saw all over. People were just like, you know, what are they doing? And they're never going to get Bret to come back or do anything. And it's like, you know, there's nothing there. And
relax, you know.
And I asked WWE a while back. I said, should I change my name? And they said no. It's not unrealistic that there's more than one guy with the last name Michaels in wrestling.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but that said, there's not been another Hogan, though. Well, there was, but he was actually Hogan's relative.
Yeah. No, I think once you're on a level like that.
Yeah. Do you really think Michaels and Hogan are on? Oh, I do, because I'm the biggest Hogan mark, but, I mean, do you think that they're, like, on that big of different levels?
I don't really compare them, because I think they're on two different levels in the sense that Shawn was a worker. He was a worker, a bumper, a seller, a worker. He had the psychology, and Hogan, and Shawn was an entertainer, but Hogan was entertainer / marketing. You know, I would like to see some of the stuff from Japan in the early 80s, currently when he like really worked, but you know, the premise of his matches in his heyday, whether he was champion or not, it was Hogan gets cut off just like that, gets beat down, big down, the big comeback, and the finish, you know. And
right.
So from that aspect, I don't compare them in the same light, because they're sort of two different things. Like same with Rock. Rock was more of a marketing, entertaining aspect, and Austin sort of in the other package, because he could really work too. Not to say that Rock couldn't work, because he worked with the best guys, and you know the matches didn't suck. But if Rock was in charge of carrying the guys, it might have been a different story.
So in addition to your in-ring wrestling career, you also designed wrestling gear. How did that start?
Basically, having gone to 2 or 3 Stampede shows back in '99 and seeing probably only 1/3 of the wrestlers actually wear wrestling gear, I remember sitting there, and this is before I'm in the business, I thought, wow, you know, if somebody really wanted to stand out on the show, they would have their own gear, because there were 3 guys out of maybe the 5 that had gear who wore long black tights and a black singlet top, like Bret Hart, black top to bottom.
Right.
3 different guys. And then I remember one guy wore long blue ones with nothing on them, and a guy wore a pair of purple shorts with nothing on them. Nobody had nothing. So out of those guys, which one would stand out the most, you know? The only guy who actually did was Johnny Devine, because he had a look overall, with his hair and the way he moved and stuff like that.
Right.
I remember sitting there going, you know, I could see this guy going somewhere, because...
And now he has.
Yeah, and, but basically, so when I got into wrestling, and I was like, geez, you know, I don't want to not wear wrestling gear. And I talked to somebody who said they could make tights, and I sent some designs in, and everybody's sending me back these outrageous prices, you know, $300, $400, like for what you want. And I thought, well, geez, you know, if I can get 1 pair, I'll be lucky. But then I thought to myself, I don't want to be one of those guys who wears the same pair every show either. Even when you break in, you wrestle once a month. I'd like to wear something different every month, just because I'd like to be at least the one guy on the show. Because I've, you know, being around Mark and being a huge Mark myself at one point was like, you would notice when somebody had new gear. You would notice when somebody had something cool. And there's little things like that I wanted to use to separate myself. So basically my mom's friend was a seamstress, but I didn't trust her to do something exactly how I wanted. Basically, I got a sewing machine from her, and I said, realistically, how hard would this be? And she's like, well, it's not that it'd be that hard, it's just be very time-consuming. If you can drive a car, you can sew the same shit.
Right.
And I just spent a couple hours with her, and she showed me, and she's like, you point, step on the pedal, and vroom. You know, it's like driving a straight line, this and that. And after about 3 pairs that sucked, I finally, on the 4th one, I had something that I could wear on a show. And about 3 pairs after that, I'd worked out all my little kinks and stuff like that. And it basically just became a matter of any time I had any free time, I was making myself another pair of tights. And about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, TJ Wilson and a couple of the other guys from Stampede and Edmonton were kind of just like, you know, where do you get your gear? I said, I make it myself. And they're like, you know what? In a lot of places, you can't really get gear anywhere. It's hard to find. You have a 3-month waiting list. So I noticed a couple people wanted it, so I just started casually making a couple pairs here and there. And then, you know, it was funny. One guy would get new tights, and then another guy saw them, and then he'd order tights because that guy got new tights. And then another guy, or a tag team would see that, and they'd want something together. And we kept me busy for a little while there. And now it's just, you know, that you don't make the biggest amount of money working the indies, so it comes in handy here and there.
Yeah, I think for ECW worker Easy Money, I think that's pretty much his main source of income now.
Oh yeah. But you know, again, Easy's he's got money invested in it. Like he can do screen printing, and he can really do really intricate stuff, and he can put your face right on the tights, and he can print stuff on the pleather. And, you know, a machine like that's like $10,000, and I'm sure he's not sitting by himself sewing. I'm sure the amount of business he's got.
Right. Does he have really that great? He has that much business going on?
Easy Money, I'm sure he does. I don't know how many people he has working with him, but I'm sure he's got a couple people working with him, and you know, it seems like it's his business now. Like, and so why wouldn't you have a couple other machines and a couple other people and have some expensive equipment in there? Me, basically, I can deal with more basic stuff. You know, I deal basically mostly with spandex, shorts, trunks, long tights, single legs. And I can do letters and designs, but I can only get it so intricate because the super real complicated stuff you gotta screen print it on or airbrush and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm not into making gear that much, so I'm gonna go drop 8 G's on a screen printing machine.
Right.
So,
well, go into a little bit about the process of designing a wrestling outfit.
pardon me?
if you could go into a little bit into the process of designing a wrestler's outfit, you know.
Do they tell you what you want, or do you kind of dream it up yourself?
I'd say it's 50-50 actually. Some people flat out know what they want, and they just, here's what I want. And sometimes it's a little unrealistic, or sometimes you have to let them know that they have something that's going to take a long time, and the longer it takes to make, the more expensive it's going to be. And some people think they're going to send you this crazy-ass design that's going to take a whole week to make, and they think they're going to pay, you know, $75 for it. Like, man, go to High Spot's site and see what you get for $75. You know,
right.
And High Spots is not custom unless you order from customarily. So some people get a little rejected, and then, you know, Easy Money's got, I heard, anywhere from 4 weeks to 12 weeks wait time. So he's, however many people he's got working with, and he's busy too. So another thing I try to do is I try not to get so many things going to where I have no idea when things are going to be finished, or, you know, I like to tell people basically within for sure within 4 weeks. But then I get other people who, they look at my stuff and the color combos I've used, because I got about 16 or 17 pairs of tights now. The color combos I've used, and I got some pictures of other people that I've done gear for, and they're kind of like, you know what, you seem kind of creative, you know, I want these colors, but why don't you come up with something? And I've done that for a few guys too, and I'm always a little bit more nervous when I send those ones out, but so far everyone's just been like, wow, you know. So,
they look really professional from what I've seen of your stuff.
Yeah, well, I probably had a dozen of mine done before I started making tights for anybody else, and I'm a perfectionist in the ring, but I guess that carries into all aspects of my life. So I don't like things to, you know, I could notice a couple measly stitches that might not be lined up properly, or I've seen on other people's gear where it's like a crooked stitch, or how it could have been better. Even though I don't technically charge extra for stuff like that, or I don't, you know, I could give it to the guy, he wouldn't even notice. But I notice, and I'll go back and, you know, fix something or redo something. And I don't know. Either way, everybody's happy, so that's
well, another thing that you're currently best known for is your relationship with indie superstar April Hunter. She told us how you first met and quote unquote got together, but why don't you tell us in your words?
Well, she was fairly accurate except for the chase part. We met at a show in Canada, and basically we saw each other in the lobby, and every other guy was going up to her and shaking her hand, and you could just see them trying to fight the drool off their faces. So I kind of didn't want to walk up, even though it's etiquette to go shake somebody's hand and meet them for the first time. I didn't want to just go walk up and sort of be shuffled aside with the rest of the guys who were drooling and stuff, so I thought I'd take my moment. And then, you know, I have no shame in saying that I think I got a fairly big nose. You know, I've been told that I could probably get Triple H run for his money sometimes, but after she broke her nose after the show, I was standing around in the hallway waiting for my ride, because there was an after party, and I didn't bring my stuff because I was told the after party was going to be in one place and not move, and I didn't pack a second bag of regular clothes, so I wanted to shower and stuff. And she was watching her match, and I saw her kept reaching up and feeling her nose, and she was all worried about it swelling. I kind of slid over and I said, you know, despite the fact that your nose is broken and swollen, it's still smaller than mine, so don't worry about it. And that kind of sparked off our conversation, and then she didn't want to go to the after party because she didn't want to get hounded by guys, and she didn't have change of clothes and wanted to shower, so I offered her a ride back with the people I was going with. So we went back to the hotel, and basically by the time everybody was showered, it was like 1:30, and we figured, you know, by the time we go all the way across town to the bar, it'll be too late, so we just decided to go downstairs. There's about 6 of us. We decided to go downstairs in the lounge and just have a drink and relax. Me and her started talking, and it was like there was nobody else there. We sort of got caught up in our own conversation, so when the lounge shut down, you know, we were just like deep in this conversation about, I don't even remember what. And when I got to my room, I just phoned her up. She had an appearance at 9 o'clock in the morning, and like a good guy, I kept her on the phone till about 6. Which she said I would get my receipt the next night, because after the show the next night, I had to leave. The show ended about 11 o'clock p.m. and then 8 a.m. in the morning, I was going to have to drive back to Edmonton, which is a 16-hour drive. So she told me she would keep me up till 6 and allow me 2 hours of sleep. And so we hung out after the show at the restaurant, went back to a hotel, and just talked. And next thing you know, it was like 8 o'clock. We weren't even really paying attention. And, you know, usually when a guy's got a girl in his hotel room, he's sort of expecting something, or he's got a one-track mind on what's going to happen. And I think I knew something was different because nothing happened. I didn't expect nothing to happen. And because of that, and I was okay that nothing happened, I think something was telling me that something's a little bit different. So she was kind of worried that I might not keep in touch with her because, you know, Connecticut and Edmonton are about 5,500 miles apart, and long-distance rates aren't too cheap either. But we kept in touch, talked every day for hours on end. Most people would think we're absolutely ridiculous. We talked anywhere from 5 to 8 hours a day on the phone. And she came up to Edmonton for a week, or for New Year's. 2 weeks after that, I came down here, and we decided what exactly we want to do, and then we got engaged, and I'm here.
Wow. Oh, man. Well, having done a couple interviews with her, I can tell you that I do believe that she's absolutely easy to talk to. So I can believe that 10 hours on the phone.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because prior to meeting her, I didn't know who she is, and you know, I kind of looked on the card on who's going to be wrestling, and I sort of just did a quick search to see if I could find a picture, because sometimes when you're in a confusion with a bunch of people and everybody's in street clothes, sometimes you don't even know who's the worker, who's not. You know, it's polite to go shake everybody's hand and say hi. So sometimes it's just people I don't know or I've never seen before. I look them up just so I know what they look like. And just a couple pictures I found, I don't know if they were necessarily bad pictures or ring shots, but they, you know, she just had this attitude look on her face. And then I looked up her resume and saw all the stuff she'd done, you know, from a Playboy to WCW and all this other stuff, and I thought, well, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if she's just another pretty girl who's got a big ego because, you know, she knows her worth and no guy can touch her kind of thing, you know, full of her own shit. And when I met her, it was quite a surprise because he's the exact opposite. And she kind of thought I was going to be like that too, I don't know why. But yeah, we would just talk and talk and talk and talk, and then the next day we wouldn't even remember what we talked about for the most part. We talked about so much stuff, but then turn around and talk like that again. So, but no, she's really, really, really easy to get along with. We're around each other 24 hours a day and have been for almost 7 months now. And, you know, I can't see myself getting sick of her in any way, so it's pretty good, I think.
Well, I think this might be the final question. Where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 3 years?
I hate that question, by the way. That's so generic.
I hate it, but I like it.
Yeah.
I hate it because nobody really knows where they're going to be. Everybody just has an idea.
Well, where would you like to see yourself?
I would like to be off the indies. I've been working indies now for 6 years. I would like to be getting paid to wrestle. I would be, you know, whether TNA will be around in 2 years or not, I hope they are. There's a lot of things that they need to do, you know, from backstage and out to stay alive and make some good profits and get their name around and whatnot. But hopefully they're around because it's more work for everybody else. But ultimately, I'd like to be in WWE. They're the biggest stage. They provide the biggest stage. They, you know, you have potentially the biggest opportunity working for them. That, you know, you could be the biggest star and whatnot, and probably achieve the most by working for them. So hopefully, I kind of have this impression that, especially now because of the ECW thing, but in the next year or so, it's going to be taking another turn because for the last way too many years now, it's been on all these big guys who aren't very entertaining and aren't having very good matches. And I think the fans have been sick of it for a while, but I think maybe now the companies are noticing ratings aren't what they want to be at. And I don't know how they're doing as far as house show drawing and stuff like that, but I just hear constant complaining. And people keep asking the question, why is Ric Flair still around? Why is Triple H still around? Why is Shawn still around?
Well, the first one I agree with.
Well, the problem is nobody has come up to take these guys' place. Like, there's nobody who has the charisma on the mic to come up and steal the mic away from Ric Flair.
I don't know. Did you see the promo last night?
For who?
Flair.
No, actually, I didn't catch all of it.
Well, I think a drunken midget could have cut a better promo.
Oh, really?
Oh, man. Well, he sounded like a drunken midget. He sounded trash, man. I don't know what was wrong with him.
Still probably partying from his wedding, but...
Probably. I mean, like I always say, I respect Flair, I don't like him. That's the way it is.
Yeah. Everybody has an off night, too, but, he's been... I wasn't the biggest fan of Ric Flair back in the day when I watched wrestling, but I respect the fact that he's been in there for so long, and nobody will ever have a career as long as he did.
Oh, nobody, no.
And the stuff that he overwent, I respect Ric Flair because Ric Flair was on the Indies. He knows what it's like, and he, for the most part, with his promos and interviews and stuff like that, he was very, very, very consistent. And, when I was a lot younger, 10, 11, 12 years old, and you still think everything's real, he was one of the few guys who, when he got mad, it's not that you were scared, but you believed what he was saying was real.
Yeah.
You believed he was mad. You believed that he was going to do whatever he could to... get whoever, I remember when he was feuding with Randy Savage for the WWF title, and, it's like, oh man, I like Macho Man, but shit, Flair wants Miss Elizabeth, and he wants the belt, and the way he's saying it with his intensity and stuff, I always said Ric Flair with his, and I say this too because I was at a restaurant that he was in after a pay-per-view, and this drunk Mark came up and started trouble with him. And Ric Flair said, he just got in his food. He said, tell you what, give me 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Let me eat, and I'll sign something. I'll take pictures, whatever you want. Please let me eat. I just wrestled on Backlash. And the guy's like, okay. And the guy came back like 5 minutes later. Stumbling with his steel chair in hand that he took home from the pay-per-view with the logo on it and stuff like that. And he just, breathing in Flair's plate. Got all in him and stuff like that. Flair turned around real slow, and from point A to point B, his face got that ruby red. And he just stood up, and he's like, look, pal. And just went into one of his promos, told this guy off. And the guy's like, F you, Flair, I'll never pay to see you again, da-da-da-da. He threw his chair across the lobby of the hotel, and security threw him out. But I always thought Flair would be one of those guys where he could grab somebody who's not even a mark, who probably, don't even think much of the wrestling business. He could take him into a room for 5 minutes and cut a promo on them, and they'd probably walk out thinking wrestling's a little bit more real than they thought before they went in the room, just because, tear their head off the way he yells, and somehow doesn't have a heart attack, so.
Well, JD, we really can't thank you enough. This has been a very nice, very good interview. Well, now's the time. If you have anything you want to plug,
it's shameless plug time.
What's that?
Shameless plug time.
Shameless plug. That would be my website, www.jdmichaels.net. It was just totally redone in the last couple of weeks by a graphics designer. I had sort of an indie site, and now I think it's a little bit above that. She did a really, really awesome job. Tons more new pictures. It's updated all the time. There's videos. I got some cool links. My schedule's on there for anybody who's wondering what I'm up to or where I'm going to be. And I also got a MySpace. You can talk to me on MySpace. It's myspace.com/JD_Michaels.
Excellent.
Cool. And yeah, your website is very well done. And thank you for the time. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me. Anytime I get to get my name up there and get some exposure, I'm really appreciative of it. So thank you.
Thank you. We do appreciate your time. All right. Are we all done here, guys?
All right. Yeah, JD, if you're still there, this will be up probably tonight, and I'll send you a link.
Yep.
Okay, and I'll get that up on my media section on the website too.
Sure, we'll send you a transcript and a link so you can listen to this and everything.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
The preceding announcement was paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
On the list listen, and if you like what you heard, I'm glad. If you didn't like what you heard, well, go fuck yourself.
Most people done hung up on me.
We had a lovely conversation.
What a show.
Oh, mercy, Daddy. On the radio dial.
Don't hang up. Bye-bye.